To this last regular meeting of the year, fiscal year. We will be having a call meeting next week. Ms. Goldman, roll call to determine the quorum.
Mr. Moore?
Present.
Mr. Johnson?
Present.
Mr. Nathan?
Here.
Mr. Armstrong?
Here.
Mr. Locke?
Present.
All present, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Goldman. I have a few announcements. I would like to recognize Councilmember Marvin Moore, District A, winner of the Cleanest District Award.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to say thank you to all of the council members. I know that you worked extremely hard in getting your cities, your districts cleaned up, but it can only be one winner. So on behalf of the mayor's office and your colleagues, Councilmember Moore, I'd like to present you with this certificate. Thank you. I have submitted our recovery plan for the Community Achievement Award. I believe that the community really came together and worked extremely hard, dedicated their time for almost a year. So we will see and follow our plan all the way up to winning, I trust. Hub Enterprises will be hosting a job fair at the Bastrop Municipal Center on Tuesday, June 15th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. I'd like to also let you know about the Renewable Energy Development Grant, better known as REAP. Kevin Boone with the USDA office out of Alexandria is the contact person. You may call my office if you are a business or an agriculture person who's seeking grant information. This grant is through the USDA, known as the REAP grant. Or you may call the USDA, ask for Kevin Boone, 337-262-6601. Applications are due by July 26, 2010, no later than 4:30 p.m. Bridge closures. We thank you for bearing with us as we get our bridges repaired. We want you to be safe. Mr. McKee, you want to talk to the public a little bit about the bridge closures? We have two, MLK and Donaldson Street Bridge.
Mayor, Council. Yes, Mayor, we have two bridges closed, Donaldson Street and Martin Luther King South. The crews are presently working to repair the bridge on Donaldson Street. They estimate about another week and about 3 weeks on MLK Bridge.
Okay. While you're there, Mr. McKee, let's go ahead. The Department of Transportation, the restriping of the lanes, we did get some communication from that. Would you address that?
Yes, ma'am.
Where we are with
On West Madison between North Washington and Vine, we redid the sidewalks on both sides. There never was side street parking there. We've made a request through your office, Mayor, to see if we can get some striping to see if we can redo the striping so we can allow street side parking. The district has approved our request and forwarded it on to Baton Rouge, and we look for in the very near future to hear something from Baton Rouge on it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. McKee. This is part of the sidewalk improvement, and once the sidewalks were brought up to standards, we have to comply with the regulation. And really, it is illegal to park on either side of the road. So we have made a request based on the existing structures that were there. We have celebrations coming up as we celebrate the history of our country and history that's important to all of us. We have the Juneteenth celebration, June 19th. Watch your newspaper and the TV station for the meet and greet time at Dotson and Ralph George Park. I want to say thank you to all of the committee members through the Recreation Department for working on this endeavor. Also, 4th of July events, be watchful for those events. I don't think we will have another formal meeting before the 4th of July. The Morehouse reunion, I believe, is July 1 through July 4th. Is that correct? Okay, we're expecting a lot of out-of-town guests, and we certainly want to welcome them with open arms and be prepared to receive them. Denise Houston from the USDA office was here on Monday, and she conducted a workshop on home ownership. We had about 30 people in attendance, and we will continue to have these workshops as we address the needs of this community. I was reading in the National League of Cities where First Lady Michelle Obama's campaign on childhood wellness is gaining momentum. 3 cities have received grants based on this effort, so I'm pleased to announce to you that I have submitted our efforts to Washington, D.C., and trust that we will hear back from Washington on what we're doing to promote childhood wellness. That concludes my announcement. Are there any other announcements? Thank you. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve our previous minutes from May 13, 2010.
I make a motion, Mayor.
I second.
Properly moved and second. Are there any questions? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Finance Committee Meeting Report Resolution 101331, Bills and Claims for the month of May. Mr. Armstrong.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt Resolution 101331.
I second that motion.
Properly moved and second. Are there any questions? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6. Are we ready for our presentation? All right, Ms. Sharon Swanson, MHSM Architect Zoning Ordinance.
Mayor, City Council, I'm Sharon Swanson with MHSM Architects, and with me with the presentation is Caroline Majors, another planner with our firm. And I want to thank you for inviting us to be here this evening. It's good to be back with you and update you on our next major milestone that we've made in completing the Master Land Use Plan and Zoning Ordinance. I also want to take a moment and acknowledge the hard work. I knew we had one member, but Tim, I don't know if you want to get up and say something too. I want to acknowledge that we have been working, the Planning Commission has been meeting monthly, since probably August, June, July, August, and they have been working very, very hard in helping to guide us to this point. And so I want to thank you for appointing such fine members to a Planning Commission. They have, as I said, not only working hard, they're present, they're reading everything, they're asking questions. So I think they are going to be a good group as you move forward when you actually implement this zoning ordinance. So I don't know, Tim, as chair of the Planning Commission, if you want to say a few words.
So state your full name, Tim. Thank you for coming.
Name is Tim Daniels, President of Gyroplastic and Assemblies. Thanks, Ms. Swanson, for allowing me. Thank you, Mayor, all the persons as
Chairman
well.
of Zoning.
Chair of Zoning. What I want to briefly maybe if you would allow just a few seconds to talk about the work that we have done in the Zoning and Planning Committee with Ms. Swanson and her group being such an integral part of us getting our community where we hope to be one day. Well, one of the things that we talk about in our Zoning and Planning Committee meetings is wanting to look at what Bastrop will look like in the next 20, maybe even 30 years. I think some of the concerns that we've addressed as you look at our streets, our roads, even our buildings that have been built historically, we know that at some point Bastrop had a look that the forefathers wanted Bastrop to become. And as we, as the group now, want to look at what kind of Bastrop will we leave our kids, even our grandkids, we think that infrastructure work needs to start now. And how do that get done? How do we play a part of getting that done so that right now the persons that are in the community don't essentially be hurt by it, but at the same time creating value for our future generation to bring value to Bastrop? So one thing Ms. Swanson and her group was very, I would like to say, knowledgeable about was putting those things in place, getting us prepared for that. Give you one prime example, I don't want to take a lot of time up, was one of the things that we looked at was when people start looking at land, which is a very touchy situation, how do I own this land today when it's, looked at 10 years from now? I need to do some renovations to get in code, or I need to do some renovations to line up with this master plan. We think that we have put things in place that would help make that a smoother transition. Because one of the things that people get very nervous about is, what is this going to cost? I'm running business today, I'm in business today, how this is going to help today, but at the same time not cost me a whole lot of money. I don't want to make those strategic changes and having to make those cost adjustments right now. And I think that our leadership here that the mayor has definitely brought on board to help supporting these efforts, take all that in consideration for every citizen of Bastrop and even somewhat Morehouse Parish. So I think that they've done a tremendous job in their leadership. I'm very proud to have served with them and continue to serve. I thank you, Mayor. I thank for the opportunity to serve. I thank you all the persons for supporting this, because I think our community really needs it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. If you would introduce, I see we have another member of the zoning present.
Yes, Miss Louisa Bowie. If you would come up.
If you'll come, I think the TV audience would like to see your face. We won't put you on the spot for having to say anything, but we so appreciate the efforts.
Hello.
Hello, thank you so much. Mr. Daniels, you recently got an appointment from the governor's office to a board. You want to talk about that? And we're proud of Mr. Daniels and what he's doing in the community with his business.
We was fortunate enough to be appointed to the Advisory Committee for Small Business for the state of Louisiana that is directed by Governor General and held by Secretary Moray. We meet bi-quarterly is what we meet. And we talk about small business needs, opportunities for small business, information that small businesses seem to not get until either the funding is low or there's no funding there at all. So hopefully we can be an asset to this community to help some of the small business issues that we may be facing or may potentially face, and can help in those efforts.
Thank you, and we're proud of all of the efforts that you're doing. We are proud of your appointment to that prestigious board.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Swanson.
Well, the milestone that we're here at to discuss with you today, we will in the next couple of months be finalizing the master land use plan and zoning ordinance and take it to public hearing. So we certainly want to present to you some of our initial findings and work before we culminate that process, because you indeed, after the Planning Commission is involved in the public hearing process, will also be involved in a public hearing process in adopting the zoning ordinance. But just to take a moment and to review with you, why is it we're really here? Why is it we are doing a master land use plan and zoning ordinance? And really the primary intent of this undertaking is to position Bastrop to prosper in the future while preserving and enhancing the unique qualities that we've found and that the citizens have mentioned to us that Bastrop offers in its built environment. And some of those outcomes that we would like to see once a zoning ordinance and a master land use plan is adopted is that of preserving neighborhoods and property values for both the small business person and the homeowner. And you do that by providing for the logical arrangement of uses, making sure incompatible uses are not allowed to locate next to a residence and to destroy that homeowner's property values, finding the right location for businesses to operate, and or there's times when they do occur next to each other, but providing the right buffering between those two uses. Secondly is to attract new development. We've heard from Kay King in the past. We heard from, and it's included in your economic development strategy report done by Thai America, that as part of attracting outside investment, they often want to see that a community has a zoning ordinance to protect the investments that they're going to bring to your community. Thirdly, one thing that came out time and time again in our community meetings, but also is again in your economic development strategy report, is the goal of improving Bastrop's quality of life, improving its attractiveness and cleanliness. Now, zoning ordinance affects that to some extent by requiring proper amount of parking associated with the use, requiring some landscaping, and things of that nature, some standards that ensure a certain level of quality of development. And then also to provide for balanced growth. Can your zoning ordinance encourage development where development is desired? For example, we've heard regularly that that there is a desire to have additional commercial services on the west side of town where there's a large number of people living. And can the zoning ordinance, through zoning, encourage development on the west side of town? And also to look at the future. So as we did our work, we've looked beyond just the immediate corporate limits of the city of Bastrop. We've looked beyond that to see if you were to grow, if you were to annex, if there were to be development at the edges of your community, what would be the proper land use and zoning in that area? And then I'll say lastly, I know in speaking with your local representative on affordable housing, in other conversations that the mayor and we have had in opportunities that have come up, that by having a vision for your community and having the tools in place to achieve that vision will position Bastrop to be more competitive for federal, state, and nonprofit grants. And also gives you some of the ideas for which to seek grants for in order to improve your community. With that, let me turn this over to Caroline Majors. She's going to walk you through a little bit of the process that we've gone through to date, and then we're going to share with you all these maps and the information contained on them, and we'll try to be brief and quick and not keep you too long.
Thank you. In order to achieve this set of goals that Sharon just spoke about, we outlined a planning process that is found in the handout that you should all receive. So if you want to walk through as I discuss it, it's contained there. But we began by doing some initial mapping analysis of the community, including a full driving survey of your current land use, which some of you may have seen. And following that analysis of the built environment, we also did a thorough census data analysis that allows us to understand a little bit more about the residents of the community and what specific needs you might have. So partnering those two pieces of physical environment and some of your demographic and social information, we sort of had a place to start when we went and had discussions with local community members. So following that, we were able to establish and orient your planning commission, which was very exciting. So we're excited for Bastrop to have its first planning commission in place. And we did a number of presentations previously, so you heard from us at that point. And we also spoke with staff, city staff, and other key stakeholders to sort of get their initial understanding of what they wanted to receive out of the work that we were going to do. Based on that and our analysis, we generated some development opportunities that we have in a map that we'll share with you in a moment. And then we took that development opportunities map and all of our analysis and we brought it to the public. So last October, we had a series of community workshop meetings where we invited the public and local businesses and some key stakeholders to come and to work with us on developing this plan further and letting us know what they wanted to see out of the zoning ordinance as well. So those were successful, and we were able to then refine our development opportunities map based on their input, and that really did serve as the foundation for the rest of the work that we've done since then. Let's see. So since January, we have really done mostly the work on the ordinance itself. We started with generating some context maps that we'll show you in a moment that really designate patterns of density. And then from that, we were able to fill in and create a set of zoning district maps that will then allow for you to achieve that desired density based on those context maps. So we'll speak a little bit further about that in a moment. And we were also able to, through our meetings with the Planning Commission, discuss a lot of the really nitty-gritty details that will be included in the zoning ordinance that are described to you under number 15 in the handout. These are things that go beyond just the zoning districts, but really get at things like landscaping and lighting and signage, as well as all of these other aspects of the zoning ordinance. And they were really able to help us make some important decisions about what would be the right fit for Bastrop in terms of these sorts of details of the zoning development code. So they have been very helpful for us with that. I think I'm going to allow for us to go ahead and jump in and talk about some of these maps because I think that's where the majority of the substance is. And I'll turn it over to Sharon to talk about some of our development opportunities that we came up with.
Okay. While we're changing speakers, are there any questions thus far from Ms. Swanson? Okay.
I do want to point out to you that we do have this map of the council districts so that as we present this other information, or as you look further at these maps in the days to come after this presentation, that you have some point of visual reference to how the work that we've done, how that might affect your individual council district, because I know that that is of utmost concern to you. So in compiling the development opportunities map, the first place that we started with in in looking at those opportunities is, of course, what the current land use. How is, what does Bastrop look like today? What are its assets today? What are some things that are hurting or detrimental based upon your land use pattern? And so can we take that and turn that around into an opportunity? So as you look at your current land use map, which is this map here, I mean, you'll see that that Bastrop has, as you all know, a strong core in its downtown Main Street, that the primary retail corridor is on the east side of town with some of it stretching on the north side of town. That there is, based upon the population patterns, perhaps a need for more retail on the west side. And that overall, you know, even in looking at the east side corridor, there could be a need to improve, while it's a viable commercial corridor, improve the attractiveness of that corridor in terms of what it would say for your community, and to attract future development into your community as to how that corridor communicates Bastrop as a community. You'll see that adjacent to the core, that the lots are smaller, and as you kind of move out from the core, the residential lots overall are typically larger. There is, if you get up and look more closely at the map, even in some neighborhood areas, there can be a mix of uses. You will find some retail uses in a neighborhood. Sometimes that can be good. You know, the corner store is a good thing, to be able to walk to the corner store or get services from the corner store. But if in the middle of your block is an industrial use that has outdoor storage of vehicles or vehicle repair, or outdoor storage of washers and dryers, and it's, you know, next to your house, that mix of use maybe isn't supportive of preserving neighborhood property values. And then you'll see also on the land use, well, not on the land use map, but here we have a map of vacant structures and undeveloped property. And what you'll find significant about, this is sort of the second in terms of doing our development opportunities map, excuse me, let me go back. We looked at current land use, current assets, looked at undeveloped property and vacant structures. So these are sort of assets that are lying dormant, and how can we take advantage of those? So as you look at this vacant structures and undeveloped property map, one thing that you'll notice is that there's plenty of opportunities for some small infill development in lots of your neighborhoods. There are lots where homes have been torn down and not replaced, so there's plenty of opportunities for infill development. And then, even within the corporate limits of Bastrop, there are still some large tracts remaining that are what I would call largely undeveloped. They're either tracts of timber, or they're still in agricultural use or something of that nature. But you still have some fairly large-sized tracts within the community that are open for development. So in overlaying these uses.
Excuse me, Ms. Swanson. Mr. Floyd, is there a way, I keep feeling that the audience, is there a way to position what we're doing so the audience can participate and see?
You want to be able to see it too?
I think in fairness to them, they should be able to share in.
We can put it like that.
The audience.
We fine.
Okay. The audience
Okay.
Yeah.
and the TV audience. Let's reposition that so that the TV audience can share in what we're. How is that for a visual, camera-wise?
And that one we could just move down. It's just council district map.
We already have.
We don't want that to block.
Okay.
So now y'all might have to go down. Public might have to switch to those seats there. This one we could actually either take down, or we could move it to the other side. Take it down? Okay. Like I said, that was really for your benefit and for your reference, so. You said it could take down. Still view it.
Thank you.
No, we moved them all around earlier, trying to figure out and how to keep things on camera and such. So, so that's a great idea. So from the current land use map, the vacant property, sort of those dormant opportunities, and the input that we received from our community workshops, we developed this. Out of that came this map, and this was reviewed by the Planning Commission. And what you'll see on this development opportunities map is we clearly identify the potential for a medical district around the hospital, for a medical professional business district, and we're using that to inform the zoning ordinance and the land use master land use plan. And you know, and I'm in working with the Planning Commission, you know, I know that this is also an idea that is included in your economic development strategic plan. But, you know, for the Planning Commission ourselves, I'm going to pat ourselves on the back a little bit in that it was an idea that we worked closely all through this process with the economic development consultant. We had regular conversations. We presented actually our initial opportunities map to him. So we were able to actually bring this to his attention, the asset of the hospital, in which they were then able to go and do some additional research and, in fact, prove that the hospital was a regional asset for the community. So working together, we've, I think, helped to shape that idea, both from an economic development perspective, but also from a land use perspective. The development opportunities map also provides for some additional business park opportunities. There's some vacant land that's adjacent to your current industrial park, and we see that as a potential future business park opportunity. And even outside of the city limits of Bastrop, perhaps some commercial or business park opportunity at the intersection of NAF and 165 we see as an opportunity. And then, of course, as you all know, the Ditto plan is owned by the city of Bastrop. And there have been many, many conversations about what to do with the Ditto plan. And I'm not going to say today that we have the solution for the Ditto plan. That probably requires further study. But we do see it as an opportunity. We see it as an opportunity for redevelopment, as perhaps a lifespan learning center. Because you do have the facility there with the technical college. So it could perhaps be redeveloped in that manner, or it could be redeveloped as office and light commercial. I know there's residential across the street, but with the right design, it could be neighborhood serving commercial if it was done in high quality and not in high intense commercial uses. Might be a way to redevelop that property and also to redevelop it with housing on site. You know, something that would leverage both your commercial, your office, and maybe multifamily housing on the site. But either way, we certainly see that as an opportunity. We see that when you look at your drainage system, that there's an opportunity to perhaps follow that drainage system and create a linear green park or greenway that basically connects that Ditto plant to downtown. That not only provides a recreational opportunity for the residents of Bastrop, but also, if done as a true amenity, could leverage, there's some vacant property in that area, could leverage some additional housing development. Because the question is, how do you get new, higher quality housing in some portions of Bastrop? How do you leverage it in? And often you can leverage that in by providing some public amenity. And so we see this linear park as one way of leveraging new housing, private sector housing, into the Bastrop community. So those are the types of opportunities that we looked at. We also looked at expanded retail on the west side, but perhaps of a little bit more urban character, not the suburban character that you find on the east side. It has a little, a little smaller size businesses, a little smaller size lots, a little bit more, as I call, urban in a good way type of character. And some additional park opportunities besides the linear park. what we looked at, is there room for expansion of your existing park here? There was also some discussion of that there might be a desire that would have recreational opportunities, but also economic development opportunities. And that would be to create a true sort of regional recreational center with recreational fields. And so we tried to look for where our sites that might happen, and so we've identified sites where that could happen. So we've taken now then, and Caroline is going to go over this with you, where you take your current land use, because we have to deal with what's there today, ideas for the future, and forge that into a master land use plan and zoning ordinance with zoning districts that matches most of what's here today, but also provides for the opportunity to develop in new ways in the future.
Okay, so when we began to actually draft the zoning ordinance, we began by looking at these maps that she's presented already, but also at the patterns in lot sizes in your community. And we've noticed that as you move toward the core, you have some smaller scale lots, and as you move out toward the edge, you have a number of larger scale lots. And this is important. It allowed us to generate this map here. This is the future context area map. And really what a context area map does is it allows you to sort of designate patterns of density that line up with all of these current uses and lot sizes that you have that are existing. So in the area in the brown, that would be a suburban density. It allows for lots that are a little bit larger. It's primarily residential in character, and it allows for commercial. Oh, great, thank you. It allows for larger scale commercial development as well. So, for example, where your Walmart is would fit into your suburban context area. Then in toward the center, in purple, these are urban areas. These have the smaller lot sizes. You'll notice there's these lots in brown are 3,000 square feet or less. And so those are areas that are much smaller scale and wouldn't be appropriate for suburban style development. And so they are smaller lots and generally have a greater mix of uses. And then in red is more clearly your downtown core and also the area that we're thinking of as a medical district. So this would really be the heart of your community, the core. And so it has some unique properties that we want to be able to accommodate with the zoning ordinance. So that's really what this map does, is sort of give you a framework of what are these general pieces in the overall community that we need to get in order. In the greenish color, those are special context areas. That's the IP plant and the airport. And those are, they have a unique character and a unique form that don't really necessarily fit into any certain context. They are really kind of unique in the way that they're developed. And so we have those in a special context area. So.
Are you expanding the city limits?
That's another thing I should mention on this. Okay, the city limits go to this sort of dotted darker line. And because of our analysis of your developed properties, we've identified where we think future growth could happen. And so we've looked at your context areas and your zoning out to where we think growth in the future could happen. Because we want this to be a long-term piece of work for you to be able to grow from. And so right now, legally, and whenever the zoning ordinance would be adopted, it would only extend to city limits. So the areas in brown here that are not within that city limit boundary would not be included in your official document, but it would be a part of your master land use plan. So in the future, if you were to grow, if you were to annex, then you'd have an idea of what, you'd already have that in place and ready to go in terms of your proposed zoning or your proposed context.
Would
Does
you
that
put a
make sense?
pin there, Caroline?
Sure.
With Mr. Locke's question, Mr. Lawrence, would you address the expanding the city limits would entail involving the Justice Department? So would you
Yes.
talk to that a little bit?
Well, it's actually, it would require a multi-step process. There are different ways, probably 4 or 5 different ways under the state statute to be able to do it. Traditionally, the way that we've done it here in the city, I think the last time was the Walmart property out to the east. There were very few to no residential units in that area, which makes it very easy because there are no voting rights implications when you annex vacant land into the city. You get certifications from the tax assessor as well as from the registrar of voters. You do a submission to the Justice Department, and unless they interpose an objection to the proposed annexation, you're then free by way of ordinance to be able to do the annexation. Like I said, that is only one way. There are several other ways. Among the options involved, the use of elections. Also, when you have a parcel of land that is almost totally surrounded by the city limits already, there is a process that will allow you to annex that property into the city if it's not already in it. So those are the multiple ways, and it is a multi-step process. It is easier when you have no people living on the land. It gets more difficult when you have residential units.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. That answer your question, Mr. Lawrence? Okay. Go
Yes.
ahead, Caroline. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. So then moving from these context areas, we were able to put together a zoning district map, and this also extends to that larger boundary beyond the current city limits. And really, it follows a lot of the same rules that I mentioned here. It's just a way of categorizing and designating those in a more detailed way. So this is really just a more detailed version of the context area map in many ways. But it looks primarily at uses and building types that fit into the kinds of character that you want to see in these different contexts. So in the suburban context area, you're going to see larger scale residential lots. So anything 6,000, sure. Anything 6,000 square feet or above in terms of a lot size would be a residential lot in the suburban area. Whereas when you move in toward the core in the urban areas, you can have lots as small as 3,000 square feet. You can have anything larger than that in the urban as well, but it allows for the smaller scale to exist. In terms of your commercial uses, you also see, as I mentioned before, in the suburban areas, we're what we have called a commercial corridor, and that would accommodate larger scale commercial, such as grocery stores and your Walmart area, sort of big box style commercial is accommodated along those areas in red. But then as you move in toward the core, you really want more of a finer grain mix of shop fronts, smaller scale, so that as you move toward the downtown, you retain some of the historic character that you have there. So we have more of a mix of uses as you move toward the center. And then in the actual center district, we've included what we call a Main Street district, which is really essentially just the square, because we feel it is a unique character that needs to be dealt with in specific ways. So it really follows a lot of the rules of the historic district already. And then we have a historic district overlay, that follows the boundaries of the historic district as presently constituted. And it would essentially give another legal support to the current historic district. So it would be part of your zoning if you were to go through and get your approval for zoning. If you were in an area where the historic district overlay is, you'd also go through your review with the Historic District Commission as well as the Planning Commission. So that is sort of general way of approaching this, that uses are more separated as you move away from the center of your city, and they get more mixed as you move toward the center. Largely, you have residential uses throughout your community. You have neighborhoods, but along your primary streets and in your core is where the majority of the commercial uses are. Are there any questions about zoning? I know you guys have a copy of this map, but I'm sure the labels don't necessarily make a lot of sense unless you look at some of the details. But
Do you have any questions?
does that seem to make sense in terms of the way that you feel about Bastrop and the kinds of character that you want to see in the various parts of the city and your districts? Does it seem to line up with your vision of what you want to see happen in the future?
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Great.
Does that
I-
complete your
I bel-
presentation?
I believe that we will speak just briefly to some of our next steps, and I'll let Sharon talk
Okay.
about how to make this happen.
Okay.
So what this means is we'll be back here again. So where we'll go from here is, as I said, this has sort of been in draft stage. The Planning Commission will kind of put its final stamp on these maps. We will also, in the same time, we have been working diligently in preparing the document for the plan and the document for the zoning ordinance for you. And they will also be approving those as draft documents within the next couple of months. And then also Caroline will be meeting with the Historic District Commission to make sure that the Historic District overlay works with the existing regulations of the Historic District Commission. And from there, then these documents will go to a formal public hearing before the Planning Commission. What the Planning Commission will do is, based upon the input that they receive from the public, they will either amend the documents and then adopt them, or adopt, or based upon public comments, if we've done such a great job, but there's are not any changes desired, they will adopt the master land use plan. That is not necessarily a role of the City Council. The City Council can adopt the master land use plan too, if it would like to, but it is something that the Planning Commission has to do. What they will also do, again, based upon public input, they will they will approve and recommend the zoning ordinance to you. The zoning ordinance will also then come to the City Council. You will also hold a public hearing on the zoning ordinance. And then it will be up to you to amend and or adopt the zoning ordinance. And so once that zoning ordinance is adopted, then the city, and you can put a delay in the zoning ordinance, like it won't take place for another 4 months or something in order to put your staffing procedures or your technical procedures in place. But that is available, but that will be coming to you hopefully by late fall, but certainly before the end of the year for your consideration, assuming that there's not delay during the public hearing process when it is before the Planning Commission. I also want to point out for you that as you look at this, adopting this zoning ordinance for the future, that once you do it, you want it to be a guide for the future for you. So you don't want to change it without any thought. but it's also not cast in stone. No zoning ordinance can think of every use that might come down the road in the future. When zoning ordinances were certainly written back in the 50s, telecommunication towers were not on their horizon. So there will be times in which you will need to amend your zoning ordinance. And also, if by chance there has been something drafted into your zoning ordinance that over time that you find just does not fit or is not working for Bastrop, you can amend the text of that ordinance amendment to make it work for your community. Secondly, I also want to point out that for the current uses that are out there, as we mentioned, there's some mixes of uses. There's perhaps some industrial uses that are happening in neighborhoods that long-term you would not want to continue. So those properties may on our maps be shown as zoned residentially. But all uses are grandfathered in. So you are not taking away someone's right to continue their business or continue the use of their property. They would be grandfathered in. There's ways in which we can get into that later if we need to, but there's ways to deal with that through non-conforming uses. So I want to, let you know that this is an important step to take for Bastrop's future, but there is flexibility if you need it as you move down the road in implementing it. So again, thank you for being here. We will be back. We will be back as part of that to assist you through that public hearing process and to assist the Planning Commission through that public hearing process. So thank you.
Thank you.
Will you all be
Sharon?
making, I have a couple of questions.
Mr. Locke?
Will you all be making the public hearing or the presentation to the public?
Yes, we will, at both the Planning Commission level and at the City Council level. And we will also make the zoning ordinance prior to the Planning Commission. We will try to make it available ahead of time for viewing by the public, by having copies available at City Hall and or the library and such, or placing it online in order for the public to be able to view it and be able to read it.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Would you remain there for a minute? Ms. Swanson has walked us through the murky waters of getting to this point, and we are still a ways from adopting a plan, but we are a lot farther along than we started. And we really want to express our appreciation to you. I'm going to join you for just a minute. As of July 1, Ms. Swanson will no longer be a citizen of the state of Louisiana. She will be relocating to Missouri. And I want to say thank you on behalf of this council and the city of Bastrop for what you have done to bring us to this point. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, she almost made me cry there. Because we have been here for a while, and I have grown to appreciate Bastrop and all the wonderful people that this has given me the opportunity to work with. So it's been a blessing for me to be able to do this. But please know that while I'm moving to Missouri, I'm not going to let go of this project. I'm probably going to, Caroline is quite competent, and our firm has other staff to support her in moving you through this, but I will also be still working with her closely, albeit from afar, but these days with computers, it's not that far, to make sure that we and I fulfill ours and my commitment to you. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 7, appoint city attorneys. It is my pleasure to reappoint our city attorneys, Douglas Lawrence and John Bentley. I'm taking it that your presence means that you accept this reappointment. Thank you so much. You have served us well, or you are serving us well.
Thank you.
Also, I would like to reappoint our city auditor, Miss Cindy Haynes, who's in the audience. I take it that you're present. Thank you. Thank you for serving the city of Bastrop. Item number 9. Oh, I'm sorry. Do I need to take them separately? The attorneys? Okay. Is that okay?
Well, you need to do them separately. You can do them, if there is no objection, you can do it by unanimous consent on each one of them.
Okay. Counsel, how would you like to do this? Would you like to
Unanimous consent.
unanimous consent?
Unanimous consent.
That counts as everybody voting in favor.
All right. We're on one page?
Yes.
Any opposed? Thank you, Mr. Bentley. We're ready to move on to item number 9? Or did we need to do Ms. Haynes? We put John and Doug together. I take it that this council feels the same way in reference to Ms. Haynes?
Yes. Yes.
By unanimous consent?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Haynes. Item number 9, K. King, Morehouse Economic Development.
Wait just a second. Whose is this?
That's set up.
Let-
All right, excuse me. Thank you, Mayor Olive and City Council. I know listening to all of the planning tonight, it's very exciting because I think that it sends a message that the city of Bastrop is in a progressive pattern, that we're going to grow. We're going to make sure that our growth protects the assets of people investing money. And I know that often I think that people in the city feel like that we aren't having people come to make investments. So this week has been particularly exciting for our organization and for the city, as I know that many groups have participated in this. But as a result of our redevelopment plan and the some marketing data that our organization put together, and as I understand now, with the communications that we have in the world today, that there are not many opportunities that are out there that someone's not listening and looking for. And one of our studies showed up on a Canadian newsletter, which prompted a site visit this week from some gentlemen that are not from, from out of state. And we had, in many cases, the projects that I work on are very secretive, and I would like to say that I would not like to I would refrain from disclosing the name of the people that came to visit us this week, but it was a little different than general because we had some community meetings. We had people that were interested in looking at and determining what our community was like before they invest more time and energy into a project. Let me just say that in a large project, and this will be in line with our redevelopment plan, and it is a more green renewable resource type project, that many of these projects take a long time to develop. So it won't be something that I'll be coming up here every month and giving a progress report on where this is going, because it may take us 4 to 6 months before we ever realize that for sure we have a project. I know that Mayor Olive met with the gentleman that came, and I think all of the meetings that we had were very favorable. They think that this community will be a good fit. But I think once again we have to understand that we have to be aware and have reasonable expectations that everything that we do right now is not going to happen overnight. And it's like with the planning processes that we have, the many things that we work on, we may see the results 4 or 5 years down the road, but that we have to continue to work toward that to get to the end result. So from our organization standpoint, we want to continue to work with small businesses as well as these larger businesses, and I hope that we will continue to see some response. And as I said, it is in keeping with the redevelopment plan and everything that Mayor Olive has worked on to try to set goals for the community for the next 5 to 10 years. And I believe that the city's on the right track. And I think I've been so busy with a lot of this month that that's really the big thing that I've got to report, and I don't want to labor on a lot of additional information at this time. But are there any questions about how we're moving forward on the redevelopment plan and our goals?
Do you have any questions for Ms. King? Earlier in our finance meeting, Ms. King, I spoke with the council members that we are getting ready for a series of meetings to assess what we're doing to reach those goals as defined in our recovery plan meeting. And we certainly want you to be a part of those meetings that we have.
Well, thank you. And I'm just very excited that we're seeing results from our efforts so quickly, even though we know that there's a lot of work ahead for us. But it is pretty exciting to see the results. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, well,
Yes, Ms. King,
Mr. Johnson.
Tractor Supply, can you give me some information on it?
They will be opening June 26th, and they have some events and things sponsored. I think this is going to be very exciting, and it should give us some regional influx for this grand opening. I think it will be beneficial to sales tax and all for the city. That's the way. But I've met the manager, and he's very energetic about sponsoring a lot of programs, and I think it's going to be real good. But June 26th is the grand opening date.
What's the manager's name?
Robert Hebron.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. King. Item number 10, Resolution 101332, a resolution authorizing the City of Bastrop to adopt the ad valorem millage rate for tax year 2010. Ms. Goldman.
Mayor, this is an annual thing. We always do it this time of the year. And this action allows us to collect our property tax for the year 2010. By adopting this, we give this information to our tax assessor, and he sends it into the state, and they are able to do their tax roll. Taxes go out, which plays a big part of our budget. So I talked to Mr. John Hill, and he gave us those millages. We're not going to be rolling forward because we rolled forward last year. So the millage is exactly the same as we did last year, and we're hoping to collect what we did on that. Y'all don't have any more questions? We'll just entertain a motion.
What is your pleasure in reference to the information provided by our city clerk?
I'd like to make a motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Armstrong,
I'll second that motion.
second by Mr. Moore. Any questions? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 11, discussion action choosing the official journey of the City of Bastrop. Ms. Goldman.
State law requires us to appoint official journal for our minutes, our public hearings, and Bastrop only has one newspaper that has the full coverage of Morehouse Parish, and it's closer, and everybody that has access online or reads the newspaper. So normally it's been a tradition that we appoint our local paper here to do that, and we have to submit submit the paperwork into the state to let them know so they can check that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Do you have any questions in reference to this procedure? We have West here with Bastrop Daily Enterprise. We appreciate the coverage that you give us. I know we turn in a lot of stuff. Thank you for the job that you do. What is your pleasure?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Nason,
Second.
second by Mr. Locke. Any questions? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 12, approved liquor license, Happy Stop, 1233 North Washington Avenue. Chief Black.
This business was formerly Hughes's One Stop. It's changed hands, so the new owners have applied and received their state license, so therefore we recommend that the city issues their city license.
Okay, Chief Black, you find that everything is in order with issuing this license?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. What is your pleasure?
Make a motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Armstrong,
I second.
duly second on this end by Obie Johnson and Marvin Moore. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 13, it is my pleasure to reappoint Ms. Sandra Goldman as city clerk. She's with us. She's been with us for over 30 years. Is it 30 years?
Yes, ma'am. Over 30.
Over 30 years. What is your pleasure?
Make a motion.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any questions? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. It is my pleasure to, Amanda has been operating in the assistant clerk's position since about December, but it is my pleasure to officially appoint her as our assistant clerk. Ms. Amanda Hall, would you stand up? What is your pleasure?
I'd like to make a motion.
Have a motion?
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any questions? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Hall has been with us for about 17 years. Is it 17? 17 years. Thank you for the job that you do. Item number 15, appoint 2 commissioners to the Morehouse Sales Tax Commission. Ms. Goldman and Ms. Hall have been serving in this capacity, and it is my pleasure to reappoint them back to the Sales Tax Commission. What is your pleasure?
I'll make a motion, Mayor.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Moore, and second by Mr. Nason. Any questions? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. At this time, I will entertain a motion to expand the agenda.
Make a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of a liquor license, Ruby's 924 Luther Street. Chief Black.
This will be a new license. They applied a while back and they've received their state license, and therefore we approve or recommend that City Council approve their license.
Chief, where is this?
Luther, the old, Lady Club, Big Apple, of that area.
Oh, yeah, I'm familiar with it.
What is your pleasure on the request for this additional liquor license?
I'd like to make a motion.
Have a motion?
Second.
Properly moved in second. Are there any questions? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Chief Black, approval of a police grant from the Bureau of Justice, Assistant Department of Justice. You want to talk to,
Well, they asked Deputy Amber Rawls to
Okay.
come in and kind of explain it. The sheriff's office is the lead agency on it, and they have a grant, and we're splitting the grant, so.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good
One of
evening.
my duties with.
Would you state your complete name and department you with?
Amber Rawls with the Morehouse Parish Sheriff's Office.
Thank you.
One of my duties with the Sheriff's Office is grant funding. I secure and write grants for the Sheriff's Office. This year.
Ms.
the-
Rawls?
Yes, ma'am.
Pull the mic down. Thank you. Okay,
Can you hear me now?
okay, that's good.
One of the grants that I came across, the Bureau of Justice Assistance has awarded for the city of Bastrop and for Morehouse Parish a joint grant for $10,696 to be used for law enforcement purposes. The application cannot be completed until they receive an interlocal agreement between Morehouse Parish Sheriff's Office and the city of Bastrop. I've spoken with Ms. Goldman and Chief Black, and we've come to an agreement as far as how the funds for the city share of the grant will be used. The city share of the grant is $5,348 to be utilized for an overtime program for targeted areas for violent property crime. The program, the way that it breaks down, will last approximately 14 weeks, 3 6-hour shifts per week. It should, given the way that the federal grant program works, should be able to receive the funds late October, beginning of November for the holiday seasons. Again, Chief Black, this was a collaboration between the city and the Sheriff's Office. Again, I cannot submit the application until I get an agreement with the city. So what I need is just signature from the mayor, and we'll be able to submit the application, and we will be hearing back from them. As soon as I hear back from Bureau of Justice Assistance, I will be notifying the city.
Thank you, Ms. Rawls. Mr. Lawrence, you've had an opportunity to peruse this resolution, and council members, you have a copy of it. If you have any questions, floor is open to questions at this time. Are we ready to take a vote? I'll entertain a motion on this resolution.
I'd like to make a motion we adopt resolution 10-1333.
Properly moved by Mr. Armstrong
I second that motion.
and second by Mr. Moore. Any questions? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 16. At this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Properly moved
Second.
and second. All in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is over.